Hello everybody, welcome back to Spruverse, my scale model universe. People of Earth, welcome to part 6 of Build the Helios Models 1/650 scale Enterprise D. And since my last update, I've been doing an awful lot of testing of various elements. I've been working on my shuttle bay, which still needs a lot of refining, but I think I have a plan, and we'll go through that. I'll show you that. I've got my pylons and my nacelle bottoms actually glued together, if you can believe that. I've got the whole nacelle assembly on the bench because I'm working out some things. But here it is. Here is the assembly. Show you that angle, this angle. And we'll show you. Let's show you this angle, like that, so that you can see where my seam line is. I've got a lot of cleaning up to do, and we'll show you the other side. And looking up close inside, you can see that what I've done is my pins. I used 1 minute epoxy on, and I left it overnight, and I've epoxied all the way along, and you can see where it is oozed up through those holes that go nowhere. There's my feed for all my wires that go into the nacelles, and so that's what we're working with. Now there's a couple of things. The first thing is, as I'm sort of playing with this and experimenting with it, I noticed for the first time that, and I'll show you just to memorialize everything, this is the rear end of one of my clear parts for the nacelle, which needs to get painted copper. And here's the other one. And what I just realized is this one was damaged, and it was glued together pre-shipping. So I have this nasty crack right down the rear here, right in the very back of this nacelle. Don't know if I can get you any closer. Let me see if I can. Yeah, you can see it. You can see it there where they joined it together. It's not even flush. So you know, at this point, I'm gonna do what I can to sand that out. It's going to get painted anyway, but it's going to leave a nasty line. There's no way around it. So maybe when I speak to Daniel, I'll say, hey, send me out another clear piece because this one is busted. Don't know. But it's a drag, you know? It's a drag. So that's what I'm working on. Everything is on the bench. And what I've got is I'm playing with these clear parts here. Now what I've started to do is I've started to sand these because I wanted to frost them. Now in doing so, what I've noticed is that it has brought out the imperfection in this clear part. Now I'm not too worried about it because my plan is to, even though I've still got a little bit of cleanup to do here, my plan is to use some fiberfill, which we'll push in. And obviously that's probably a little bit too much actually. I've got to sort of spread it out. But the idea here is that it creates the illusion of this sort of facade having this sort of gaseous kind of world inside. And so you can see we get this really nice effect. And that is working really well. And I like what it's doing. But I've got right here, I just got to sand this and figure out how I'm going to get this to disappear so that I've got nice even light all the way around. But you can see that this is going to work fine. I've just got to make sure that I get a nice even distribution, and I haven't quite figured that out yet. I'm still playing with that, but that's the plan. So it's going to take 3 5 mils. Now, I had talked originally with Lou about using an Evans design large SMD breathable red. You could also use an orange too. However, the concern is that the way that is resisted, I might put a call into Evans and ask them, but the way that is resisted, I think I'm going to have problems with it on this board. I don't think it's set up for it. So I'm a little worried about that. I'm also noticing how much heat is getting generated by these SMD, these LEDs. It's very interesting. To the touch, they're quite warm. I don't think that's right. I think these resistors are working overtime at 12 volts. But anyway, we'll see. But I do think that I'm going to go with the 3 because I know that at least in my board setup, I can most likely handle that. Now the reds, they do not like. Well, they're not as bright, they're not as punchy as your green, right, or your blue. They just don't. But I think that by sanding these down, that'll give me more diffusion. They won't be so spotty, so I'll do that. I'll test that, and then we'll take a look at that as well. And then we're going to start to take a look at what it's going to take to actually get these warp drive grills painted up. So that's the next thing I've got to do, because you get your clear here, which goes on. You've got your corsetina, which sits like this, and then you've got your Bassard collector, which drops inside here like this. This connects to, I think it's this way around. This connects to this like this, and this connects over to this. And essentially that gives you your nacelle. And then you've got your top part that drops in like this over the whole thing and brings it all together, and that gives you your nacelle. So there's a lot to contend with here, because I've got to get my Bassard collectors looking beautiful. I've also noticed that with the clear parts inside here, I can show you this. It's funny, now they're glued together. It's like it's wacky, but it's helpful. It's really helpful, if you can believe that. Let me pick this up to camera for you, and I can show you. Yeah. So what you'll notice is that I've got to do a little bit of refinement here, because this has to get squeezed together to glue. And then I'm going to end up with a little bit of a seamage, which I'm going to have to work at. So I think step 1 is going to be to get these, when I'm ready to assemble, to get these chiller grills installed in place correctly. Step 2 will be, I've got to build an island for my blue warp drive effect. I've got my my rear static navigation that is going to go here and live on the rear here, top. And then obviously I've got my reds for my Bassard collector, and all of that is going to run down and into this channel here. Put this up here for a second. Into this channel here, and then on into the ship this way. So that will take care of the whole thing, and then once it's all sealed up, you can go ahead and do your final painting. Now, the good news here, of course, is that once you sandwich these together, you don't have seam line issues, which is brilliant. But you've just got a little bit of a fit issue here. So I'm going to have to work on that, because not fun to have to force something like this. You really don't want to. Perhaps I will seal and dry one side, let that set up, and then come back and set up the other side. like that. So we'll do one at a time and see how we go. Okay, so I am going to now continue to work on my Bussard collector clear parts. I've got some 400 grit sponge, and I'm going to town on these parts. I am not going to use some Tamiya red on here. I don't believe. I want to try to do it without, but it's quite a process to get these well diffused. So I just got to spend a little time doing that. So that's what I'm going to do here with my 400 grit sponge. So I'll get those both done. I've got the other side to do. And then I'm going to go ahead and start positioning my LEDs as soon as I've given them a scuff up too, because I think obviously that will help with diffusion. So work continues on the 1650s pylons and nacelles. I've started to do a little bit of work on just sort of getting the Bussard collector effect together. It's interesting. I thought I was having a little bit of an issue with my my 5mm pre-resisted Evans design lights, primarily because they felt a little too warm to the touch for me. I have a call into Evans. They might need one more resistor. I don't know. I'm going to talk to them. But I ran this for several hours, and it was quite warm to the touch, but I just wanted to make sure I wasn't going to blow anything up. But I think I should be okay, and what I'm going to do is, just to be triple sure, is I'm going to get some electrical tape around these just in case, but I think I'm going to be fine. What I've discovered is after I took 400 grit sponge and then 1,000 grit sponge to the inside and the outside of this, I got a really nice effect, and I don't know how well this is going to play in this light, but I'm very happy with it. I've been trying to get this sort of gaseous effect, and I think I think I've done quite a bit to achieve that now. So let me just share this with you. So let me turn on. Here's my light. And what I've been playing with is getting just a very light touch of the fiberfill, and I'm pulling it apart to make sure I've got it nice and even. I don't want big clumps. And what I've done is I'm pushing this into my Bussard collector cap like this, but very light, very light, not hard at all. And what that does is it gives you this really nice diffusion. And so I don't know how well you're seeing that, but I think you'll agree that that's a very nice warm glow. And interestingly enough, now this hotspot you don't see in person; it only appears on camera. But I will say I I took the trouble. It was well worth it. So if you haven't in a while, go back and look at the pilot episode of Next Gen, and it's really a treat to watch. And it's the first time you see the Enterprise D, and you can definitely see these hotspots on the Bussard collectors. It's very interesting, but I'm very happy with this effect, and I think we're going to do really well by it. And as I put it down into the dark, I'm getting a really nice warm glow. So I'm very happy with that. Definitely 3-5 mils was the way to go. So I'm going to stick with that effect, and we should be good to go there. The next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start looking at the chiller effect after I've set up my other 5 mils. I've created this little piece of card here. You can see I cut this myself, and this sits nicely on the back of the Bussard collector. And then of course you've got the this piece that well, you've got this piece that goes in first, like this. Then you've got this bit that drops in quite nicely, and then you've got your I call it the I don't really know what it is. It's sort of a corsetina effect, really, and that goes in like this. And the idea is that this all sits flush like this. And this is going to get painted yellow. I painted this black first because I wanted the yellow to be a little more mustard looking. So that's why we painted it black first. But I think that's coming together quite well. So I'm really, really, really happy with what is going on here. So I'm well organized. I'm going to clean this one up, just get my holes in it, get my 5 mils in, and then I'd like to look at with you my warp drive, my chiller effect, and just talk a little bit about how we're going to do that, because I have to figure out my lighting for that. So I think what I'll do is I'll get those blue SMD strips out. Get them fired up, and we'll take a look at that next. The nice thing about the blue SMD strips is the blue really is it's kick-ass. I mean, it definitely does the job. It's got a punch the same way green does, and you can see here that now ignore the fact that you're seeing light, the sort of individual lights, as it were, because I assure you in person that's you don't see it. But this clear piece is really, it's doing a really good job conducting, sort of glowing. So what I'm going to try and do is just lay this down here. See if I can't get this to sort of behave itself a little bit. But you can even see this glow on the side, that it's working quite well, and it's radiating color all the way around, which I'm quite happy with. So if I tip it on its side, whoa! Don't do that. I don't know why I do that all the time. I don't, I don't think. It's how most of my stupid accidents happen around here. I'm test fitting stuff. It's not glued down. It's just balanced. And of course, what I do, I pick the whole bloody thing up. I mean, really, deaf, dumb, and stupid. What a way to go through life. Okay. But the reason why I wanted to tip that is, and I can tip it to camera actually. Tip it that way. There you go. Because I think this is worth us having a conversation about. What I'm trying to do is attempt to understand just exactly what I'm going to, how much of this strip I'm going to need. Now they've given us an awful lot, so I think what they're trying to say to us is don't be afraid to pack this in. So if I hold this back like that, I think you can see. See if I tip this to camera like this. See, what I'm attempting to do is just show you. Let's see here. I think that'll do it. Yeah, you're seeing it here. You're seeing this. It's radiating light quite beautifully. So what that's telling me, and you can see just by what I'm doing that I'm getting this really nice glow. And so the reason why I'm saying that is because I've got I'm going to obviously paint these copper, and so it's going to need quite a bit of punch. So I think the plan here is going to be is to create a little island here in the center that these can wrap around. And I will wrap these all the way around, and then I will wrap them on top. Now they give you quite a chunk here of stuff. They give you quite a bit, so they really want you to go to town and say, hey, make sure it gets nice and blue. So we're going to take them up on that, and I'm going to get all of these connected to wires so that we can really start to look. But I think the saturation of the light is going to be absolutely critical to this. So that's what I'm playing with. Now you get let's see, they've given me 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. They've given me 8. So four aside. They want you to do 4 aside. So that's what we'll do. We'll do 4 aside, and we'll figure out how we're gonna lay these in, and not just lay them in, but lay them in such a way that we don't get hot spots. So that's what I'm going to do now. I'm going to get these all wired up, and then after I've done that, I've got a little chunk of plastic I can put in here, not dissimilar to what I used for the phaser effect in the saucer. That thickness, I think, will work perfectly on these, and we'll scratch build ourselves up something to wrap these lights around, and you know, we need to get them far enough away from this that we don't get hot spots. So that's what we're going to do now. Let me get these wired up, and we'll take a look at these. Okay, so we have a result, and I'm very happy with the warp drive effect. Here it is to camera, and that's going to be absolutely perfect. And we've got good color all the way around. Let me just look on the other side here. Yeah, we've got good color all the way around. Okay, so that is a result. So I'm very happy with that. Very happy with that. Let me get the lights on here quickly, and then we'll go through what I've done. Okay, the lights are on, but no one's home. Trust me, no one's home. Okay, so this is actually quite a step forward. So the warp drive / chiller grill, I don't know what the correct. You guys will straighten me out, and I have the blueprint, so I promise you I will pull them out and look at it, and we will be all correct here. But okay, so the first thing I did is I created this little standoff with 2 little posts, and what the posts do is they allow you to raise my my support beam here up high enough so that it can actually be at the same eye level as the clear part itself. That's number 1. Number 2 is what I've done is, and now I only need one for the rear because they're projecting quite beautifully. But what I do is I take my blue SMD strip and I'm wrapping it all the way around, making sure that I have one light here. It's very important that I have one light on this beam for the rear. The clear is doing a really nice job at light penetrating. So we're going to be clear here. Now I may, just to cover my butt, put in one more blue strip just to make sure, because once we get a little copper on this, it might fight a little bit to get through, but I don't think it will. Okay, and so then after I did that, what I've done is I've set this up. Now this is all loose in here, but I fiber filled all the way around, and that diffuses it. Now obviously I'm going to have to make sure that I get this absolutely correct. This was just a rush job, but you can see it gives a plenty of diffusion to my warp drive effect. And so when you sandwich it like that, and if I tip that, even if I tip that to you, you can see that I'm getting plenty of light. So that is a result. and that is absolutely working. So now I've got my Bussard collector effect dialed in, and I've got a plan for my my warp drive, and my beacon lights, my nav lights are already ready to go. So I am dangerously close to being able to actually say that I've got this effect sorted. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to wire up just a couple more of my blue lights. I've got plenty now to play with, and I think what I might do is I might come along here and I might put one more here in the back, just to give this a little more oomph. That might be a better way to go. Is just get something like that. I'm not sure, but this is a good way to go. Now I am getting plenty of light back here because this clear piece reflects light beautifully. But what it's going to do once it's got copper on the outside is most likely going to essentially allow blue to come through the bars, because I'm just going to dust the copper on. It's not going to be thick. It's just going to be a dusting of it, so we should be good to go. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to dust one up now and take a look at that before I say that I'm good to go here, so that I absolutely know what I'm dealing with. But I think I'm dangerously close, and I've got plenty left. So that's good, and it's okay to let these continue to burn in. So that would be a huge thing, because it would mean that I can actually start to assemble these and get them ready for paint, because they need to be sealed up. I need to seal them up before I can paint these. I want to seal these up before I paint them. So this was a lot of work. This is a really good result, and I'm very happy with it. Okay, so more to come. I'm going to the next thing I'm going to do is once I've got this sorted, I still need to epoxy putty in my seam line. Don't forget, where my nacelle hits my pylon. I've got to do that. But other than that, I think we're in really good. I think we're really good shape with these warp drives. Very happy. Okay, quick pop in here because I want to constantly remind myself to memorialize some of the things, because I'll sort of lay something down or say this is the way I'm going, or this is the direction, and I go in another direction, or I have a change of heart, or what have you. So I'm not entirely sure how this will end up being cut together, but it is important for you to see the process. At least I think it's important for you to see the process. Okay, nacelles. Been working on them quite diligently. Yesterday, which would have been Saturday here in September, it would have been the 7th, 2024. I've been really working diligently on my nacelle lighting system for the warp drive / chiller grill. I assume it's just the warp drive. And I came to some conclusions. Now, here's what's interesting is if you look at this piece now, and I can pull this. Yeah, that's good. What I did was I gave it a good coat of the Tamiya copper, the XF6, and then I tested it. And what I discovered was actually quite interesting. I discovered that it was on too thick. It was on way too thick. And so the net result of that, of course, is that I was getting a blotchiness. So I was getting the blue effect in some places, and then it was sort of going out in others. Now, I wanted a sort of consistency to my light. So what I decided to do was just take a little bit of lacquer thinner on a paper towel, and I clean these off. Now the net result of that is all the paint has stayed on the on these edges, and bizarrely the grooves are clear. And of course, the net result of that is that I'm getting a much more consistent blue. But in the dark, if I put this under the table, for instance, and look at it, it goes completely copper, so I'm loving this effect. And I feel like I've got it to where I'm very happy with it. Now, we have been talking about this standoff, and it is working. But what isn't working, or what wasn't working, was the fact that I wasn't getting a consistent light all the way around. So what I've done is I've been playing with a couple of things. In the rear, I've just added a little three SMDs on the tape here. I've done that one, and the net result of that is I'm getting a much cleaner. I'm getting a much cleaner sort of effect towards the rear, so that when you ultimately drop your warp drive grill in, the rear piece of this is actually now getting some nice coverage. So because I'm getting even light all the way around, that is working. Now, one of the things that I am going to test today is the full effect. In other words, I'm going to try and get one of these nacelles set up in such a way that I'm comfortable with how everything is going, and I'll run the lights down through the hole and out, so I can sandwich this together and take a look at it, because I'm still thinking that I need the fiber fill just to soften this out, and that'll be fine. I've been working on some refinements to the the warp effect, and so I feel like I've got it pretty good now, where I've got a nice even distribution of light, and I'm just packing in some fiber fill here just to check my my diffusion here, because I obviously don't want any hot spots, but I also want this to be punchy. Now, clearly, you're only going to see this in the light, with the lights off, I should say, but this should give me a pretty decent effect now. So I'm looking at this. Yeah, I couldn't be happier. Couldn't be happier. That is an absolute result all the way around. It's a really nice effect, and it's working well. And of course, in person in the studio, what happens is when I actually kill the power to this. Let me just kill the power to this. It's all copper, and so that's what you want. So definitely, just to sort of review where I am, that's the effect. I'm going to lock that in, which means now everything can get primed, and I can finish doing the gap filling where my my pylon connects with my nacelle. And then once I've done that, I can go ahead and triple check my wiring, and then I'm good to actually seal these up and get a coat of paint on these, and I've got the masks to do that. So that will be really good. The one challenge I've got now, of course, is I have got this situation where I'm going to have to squeeze this in just a little bit. Just squeeze in these sides, and I'm really worried they're super brittle. Let me show you what I'm talking about here. So right here, I've got this gap, and I need to get it together. But when I put too much pressure on this, this is all the way down, and there's nothing interfering with it. So it should be exactly where it needs to be, but it's not. It just isn't. Now, you could bring in the lower one just a little bit and make up some of that gap, which means that what you could do is you could try to do one side and then go ahead and do the other side by simply trying to tack that, and then possibly some epoxy resin overnight, but the amount of tension on that, I worry that even though I can bring that gap together, I'm going to snap something. So my solution is, I've got some very thin card here, and I'm going to go ahead and I believe, because I've looked at this 10 ways from Sunday, and it's down. I've not missed anything. It's just simply not sitting nicely in here, and it's exactly where it wants to be. So that's just not it's not a nice fit. And so I'm really worried about it. Now, I do think on its side like this, with the pressure off of it, I am able to bring this together just a little bit. And I think the net result is I'm going to end up getting some card between this, just to kind of bridge that gap and not put myself in a situation where I'm going to try and pull this together and just create so much tension on it that, you know, it's resin, right? And I've done this before, especially with thin parts, and I found that if it gets knocked or something, it's a break point, and that we don't want. The other thing I'm going to do now is, once I get these installed and all glued up, I'm going to bring this all these down to one line for all of my warp drive effect. And then the only other thing in here is the flasher for the rear and the Bassard collector. So they get to go in now. I'm going to install those. And then we will be good to go. I'm very, very happy with this. Yeah, when I go to lay this down and lock everything in, that's the other thing I'm going to do, is make triple sure that my fiber fill is nicely pulled apart, that all of the LEDs are covered, and then I've got nice coverage all the way around, so I don't have a hot spot. And then I can just go ahead and lock this in, and that will be that. And that's a great result. Okay, so I am convinced now that my my nacelles are good to go. I've got lighting to do. I've got to run the lighting to the neck of the star drive, and I'm going to do that now. That's the last of the lights. The only other issue I'm going to have is the lower half of the ventral part of the star drive slash secondary hull. That basin effect. I've got lights to put down there, and I have asked Taylor over at Avalon to cut a hole in that plate for me for easier access to wiring. So he'll do that. Nothing huge, just maybe about an inch on either side. It'll give me plenty of room to be able to feed my lights through and not squeeze anything. And that will ultimately take care of all of the lighting, and then everything has to be pulled down through the neck and out to my control box, which I've had enlarged. And I also have a test print of my LCARs that should be here in the next day or two, so we'll get to take a look at that. And so things are progressing. Things are progressing. But this I'm giving a big thumbs up to. I think we're good to go. And let me just give you. Well, you're seeing it here. So this is the effect. I mean, and I've got double density in the roof of this. Here I put double density in the roof. I've also added some at the back just to give some better illumination to the rear of the effect. And then that also just helps brighten everything up as we go along. And then of course I've got my bar in the center that has SMD strip on both sides and of course on the top. So we've got plenty of light. Now the only other thing I might do is get myself some foil and run it along both sides here just to get some extra bounce. That probably wouldn't hurt. So I'll probably just do that, just get a strip of it and run it in here, and that'll help with bounce, and I think that'll do quite well. Yeah, that takes care of the nacelles. So everything is in here. The only other light I've got to take care of is the rear photon torpedo. I have not addressed that because I've got a fiddly little piece on the tail. Will show you that I've got to either scratch build or clean up, because the piece that comes with the kit is just wrong. I mean, it's just wrong. It doesn't work, and it's too small. But hey, we'll make it work and we'll figure it out. Okay, well, that was interesting. I just had a phone call with Evans Design. Colin over there in the tech department was kind enough to give me a call, and we spoke a little bit about these 5mm LEDs, because I've got 3 of them in pretty close proximity to each other, and I like this. It's working perfectly for me, and I'm getting a really nice result. But what I had noticed is to the touch, these were getting really, really hot, and I wasn't sure what was going on. He gave me some pointers and indicated that I didn't realize if these resistors are close together, they put off heat, and they can also take heat from other resistors around them. But I ran this for several hours and it didn't do anything untoward. And he assured me that I'm in that's a normal. That's a normal range for these, and that's what they're supposed to do. So they're doing what they are supposed to do. So I'm relieved about that, and those are ready to go. So back to the pylons now, because in the nacelle connection points. Because what I have to do now is I'm putting in some of my light curing putty. And the reason why I'm doing that is this is resin on resin, and when I go to ultimately get this all sanded down and blended in, I want it to be all resin. I don't want any other compounds. And I certainly could use some epoxy, that's not an issue, but you know, as I'm running my thumbnail over it, I'm just feeling the ridges. I've got this one pretty good, but I'm not going to really know where I am until I actually get some primer on it. Now the challenge is, of course, is that I've been using the white primer, but what I'm going to have to do here, and it doesn't matter because it's under the nacelle, so it's not going to be a big deal, is I'm going to use a little bit of my gray, my Tamiya gray primer. It's all in the lacquer family, so it'll be fine with my my Rust-Oleum. But as I'm running my finger across it, I'm feeling a little bit of the bumpiness where my resin oozed out when I was attaching these. So that's what I'm going to work on now. I'm going to use my light curing putty, and I've got a chisel, and I'm going to just start running it along here. Now I have done a little bit. I'll show you what I'm working on here. This is we've talked about this before in other sessions, but this is a gel as opposed to more of a putty, and so it's a little more tricky to work with when you can't really see what you've done. But you know, take your time if you are doing this, and just go down the line here and just get it all in the cracks. And it will start to make sense to you, because you will be able to see the difference once it's cured, and then you can start sanding it. But it's a good place to start, because there's definitely some ridges and some bumps. And as I'm looking down on this end, I'll show you. Let me pull this into camera for you. There we go. As I'm looking down this end here, the blade can actually get under here. So what I'm doing is I'm getting some on the edge of my blade here, and I'm actually my fat fingers are going to make this disappear for a second, but I'll come back. And you see I'm getting it here, and I'm just pushing it in. Now what you do have to be careful of is you don't get these little stalactites. Now they will clean up, but you know, the object of the exercise is to try and get this as clean as you possibly can. So that's what I'm doing. I'm just, again, pushing it in and scraping it, getting it nice and smooth to the best of my ability. And then I'm just going to keep sanding and puttying and sanding and puttying until I feel that it feels pretty smooth, and then I'll hit it with some gray primer. And then once I've done that, I can hit it with the white primer, and then we can get all of this painted the basic blue. And that will, between this and the top of the nacelle cover, will complete my my ship in terms of my base coat. It'll all have the blue on it. So that's exciting, because it means that we're getting closer to a point where we can actually start laying down some more paint. I am waiting for those masks to come from Lou over the Aztec Dummy, and he's putting those together now, and he's also working quite diligently on the Aztecing. That's going to be brutal. Okay, so work continues here on the 1650. Okay, another pop in here, because it's really interesting. You know, you're working on the nacelles, and you decide to attach your lower nacelle to your pylon, and then you start looking at all the other issues that you have to deal with, because I can't really get a coat of primer on this until I've done a little more work. And one of the things I need to do is I need to get the rear photon torpedo installed, the light. And so for the first time, I've really taken a super hard look at the detail piece that attaches to the end of the rear of the star drive, where that photon torpedo is located. Not impressed. So let me do this. Let's go here for a second. Now, obviously, my finger is pointing to the location of the photon torpedo canopy, I'm calling it. So the rear of the star drive sits down in this groove right here, and it's just enough room for us to settle these wires in. And then these wires, which are going to my static rear navigation lights, I've got a red and green in here, they're fine. And then I've got these channels here that you can see, and those are going to bring the wires to the nacelles for the warp drive, the Bassard effect, and of course my nav lights at the rear of the nacelles. And they all come down into these channels. If you recall, these channels weren't cut out for us at all, and but they have been apparently in the second shot. So you know, we didn't get that. But I'm starting to look at my photon torpedo. Now, what came with the kit is an amber light. Now, the forward-facing torpedo, I've used I've used a fiber optic element because if you're going to use this one here, which you know you certainly can, and I don't think there's any reason not to, I've got to get quite low here in order for this to sit, which means I've got to do a little more gouging here just to get this light to sit down in here. And this pencil mark here indicates where it goes. So I've got some grinding and some gouging to do, which I can do just to get that to sit down. However, here's the dilemma. This is the piece that comes with the kit. I'm going to put it on my finger here to show you. This is the piece. This is what it should look like. Now, well, before I show you what it should look like, the only way to describe this is it looks like a small engine bell. It's got these little grooves on it, and it's got the business end here, which is quite tiny, and this end here, which just simply attaches to the rear of the star drive tail. What this should look like is this. This is what it should look like. This is a detail off of the actual filming miniature. Now, curiously enough, this also has another navigation bulb of some kind, if you can see, just behind the cowling itself. But this is not even close. Not even close. I'll get you back in here and show you this again. So this is the part that came with the kit, and this is what it's supposed to look like. It's way off. So I'm going to scratch build my own. And I've got a little bit of fiber optic that I can run in there, I think. And I've also got, I've got some other elements that I can use. But that's just not good enough. It's just not good enough. So we've got to do better, which means I've got to bring over the star drive tail, sit it down in here, and take a look at that in situ. So why don't we do that? Why don't we do that right now? Okay, so here's the top of the star drive, and it's got the base French satin French blue on it. Now this is just a base coat, so very little of this will be seen, obviously, but it's a good base coat and it's had several days to dry. The nice thing is here I can tip this into place like this, like that. Let's get you in position. Here we go. So then this is the piece that came with the kit, and they would have you sit that right there. Now look, it's not terrible. Let me see if I can get you over to the close-up camera. Here we go. That's better. Let me just reposition that so it's snug. I'm realizing I've got, be careful, be very careful. Okay, here we go. So take a look at that. There you go. So this is the piece in question. Now it's not terrible, but it just doesn't feel right to me. So I'm gonna try to figure that out. Sit, and there's room for it to sit in here. There's no issues. So I'm not whining. I'm just saying that we can do an awful lot better, I think. Most likely we're going to end up with a little fiber optic in there. But step one is to figure out what is replacing this piece, because I certainly don't want to use it. I don't think it's good enough. Okay, so I wanted to share that with you. And what we'll do now is I'm going to sort of I'm going to think about this, come up with a graceful solution, and see if we can get closer to this. Now, because it's got quite a bit of detail in it, and so it's going to require a little bit of thought. But I wanted to memorialize this, and I wanted to share it with you. Yes, it's a small detail, but details matter, and that is, you're going to see it, and it deserves to be a little better. Back on the nacelle, it's time for me to add this little applique to the back. It has on it the static nav light. There's two of them, and I've used Evans Design Pico chips. And all I need to do now is, I have painted these gray, but I know they're going to need touching up again. But all I need to do now is I just need to glue these appliques down. And the way I'm going to line them up is I'm going to use this indent here that they sit in, and they sit nice and proud in there like that. And they're going to need some dry brushing for sure, but they're going to work. That's going to work fine. So what I need to do is I just need to add a little bit of CA, and I'll do that now on camera. Why not? Hang on. Let's. If we're going to live dangerously, let's live dangerously, right? And then just a little there. And then all I should be able to do is carefully just push that into place. And we'll hold that down for just a second. Now the reason why it's important to get all these in is because obviously I need to be able to wire up my my nacelles, and I've got my strip lights for my warp effect. I've got one set of wires that I've attached to all of my strip lighting. So I've just got one pair, a red and a black, coming out. And then my Bassard collector has 3 5mm reds, and I'm gonna toggle those down to just a single one red and a black. And then of course there's this effect at the rear here, this static nav. So I will effectively have six wires, 2 pairs of 3 coming out of each nacelle. So there's plenty of room in the channels for those wires, and that should work quite nicely. Okay, there's one on, and let me get the other one here into place. There we go. We'll just feed these through, and then the next thing I'm going to do with these nacelles is I'm going to put, well, I'll show you in just a second here. Let me just get this all secured, and then we'll talk about that. That down with my thumb. And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to add just a little bit of my silver tape, my metal tape, to the roof of this right here on both sides of this SMD strip. Now I've used double density on the top here just to create an all-around blue glow. And then obviously we're going to have to pack this with fiber fill, and that'll be ready to go. I'm going to test all the lights one more time before I seal everything up, but there's no reason to not actually assemble these nacelles. But I'm going to wait just a hair's breadth more because this needs, I'm noticing, a little bit of sanding. These nacelles are kind of rough, and I'm looking, part of these prints, they appear to have been sandblasted in Hong Kong. I think that's where these were done. So it's a different type of sort of finish, and it's supposed to make everything smooth. But not a lot of QC went on in round one. I think round two may have gotten a little more QC, but round one we didn't get that kind of QC. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and get some metal tape on the inside of these, and that will finish up the nacelles, and they will ultimately be ready for install. But I'm definitely I'm just hitting the top of this with a little sponge here, but I'm just because I can feel some roughness, and the 400 seems to be more than fine. So I'm going to hit these with a white, and then we will hit these with our blue, and they will be ready to go. Very happy with that. Very happy with that. Yeah, it's it's one of those things where once you get into the groove of it, you kind of forgive you forgive all of the imperfections and things of round one. But I'm always going to be a tortured round one baby. That's just who I am. It's the round oneers, and we can. If you're a round oneer and you're building this, let me know if you're a round oneer. We can all sympathize together. Okay, all right. So those are nice and smooth. They're going to get a coat of my primer, as well as I'm going to get some metal tape on the inside top here, just for some added reflection. And these will be done and dusted. I've got my revised cowling cover for my rear photon torpedo, what I decided to ultimately do is I skinned the one that I had. I was going to reach out to Jeff and say, build me one. But I'm about to embark on my my Wonderfest 25 project with him, hopefully. And so I don't want to drive the poor man crazy because he's a gentleman, and I know he would help me if I asked him. Okay, so I've got my fiber fill ready here. I've got my cowling here. Let me show you what I did. Now it's going to need some. It is going to need some blue lines on it. But here it is. Here's the new cowling. And I'm very happy with it. It's going to be fine. It's going to look really good. Now obviously it's going to need a little more painting detail to it, but as you can see, if I turn it over, the underneath is the old skin. So I just skinned that. I had some card, sort of like this. I had some card and I just decided to skin it, and it's given it the right shape now. If you look at this, it's given it the right shape. So that's a lot closer. Now there are those three sort of ventral lines on the sides. I'll probably represent those with some black lines. I don't know. Maybe I can draw them in later, or we'll see. But yeah, that worked out really well. So that's a result. The next thing I can do now, of course, is I can go ahead and install my photon torpedo, my rear photon torpedo, which I'm going to actually use the 3mm SMD that was supplied. And what I've done is I've just ground that down like that, and that's nice and flat, and it's about as close as I can get without destroying it, but that will sit in there quite nicely. So that's ready to go. So I'm very, very, very happy with that. That's a result, and we can keep going. Okay. I think that will do it for this update. I'm not keeping them too long. There are lots of details that I'm working on, but I don't want to keep. I don't want these to be hour-long videos because there's a lot going on, and it's taking a lot of time, and that's okay. And I'm even going to take a break, I think, and I'm going to finish my my phaser gun, my stun gun from Space 1999. If you recall, a little earlier in the year, I built the Comlock, and in that model is the stun gun. I just didn't build them together. They're great little kits, and the lighting on those is supplied by, of course, Randy Newbert over at Voodoo Effects. So we'll be working on that while we're working on this, because I have got Lou frantically working on the all the masking for the Aztecing effect. So he's frantically working on that, and I understand the great Keith Tomlinson over at Cosmic Scale Models has jumped in the fray and is going to help us with some decals. So oh my God, it's all hands on deck for this beast. So very excited. And of course, in the next update, we'll take a look at this beautiful stand that's going to be here. I think the stand will be finished and ready to go. We'll also we'll have the LCARs that we're going to look at. That's going to go in the control box. So a lot for the next update. But hey, if you have any questions or you want to drop me a line, I am spruverse@gmail.com. I post on my Instagram account, which is spruverse. Of course, you can buy me a cup of coffee. That link is in my channel page open. And as always, please, I wish all of you be safe, be well, build something. Come on, let's build something. And I'll see you next time. Take care, everybody. Be well.